name on it, then I will announce the winners. What we're playing for are a couple of gift cards for the brew table, and so that's the prize. So that's, we gotta try. All right, I'll come around. Probably shouldn't.
Yeah. We're allowed to cheat if you want to give me the answers.
And if anybody has any questions about the source for all of my answers, it's all about
Can we ask any questions about the answer?
Oh, you use such fun. What are you crazy?
well, this is me printing at home on legal stock when it was supposed to be for
Yeah.
letters.
You know the Melon is a great dog. Sitting with my sister. I had one one morning and the two of them looking at each other was just. Because it just, it's open size. Yeah, in fact, he's getting kind of crazy. So I'm walking with him.
Went to the neighbor's house and the dog control. Starts to go to the heart. He's 10 feet.
It's in the head.
Small. Yeah, that's the one, yes. Yeah, last week I saw him on,
Just for fun.
Liz Acres, that long fence was
You know all the answers, don't you, John?
I would be curious.
But you knew them before.
No, I did not. A couple really
Oh.
surprised me.
Yeah, well.
Was interesting.
We got two more.
Oh, that was almost okay, so.
Come on in, stragglers, storm stragglers. Welcome, thanks for coming, guys. We have a community icebreaker trivia sheet. They're on the tables. If you need one, let me know. I'll find one for you. And if you write your name on it and give me the answers, no rush. We can get you in a draw and win a couple of gift cards. Oh, well, just on the other side there. Lots of room.
Just
Nice
lots of
round.
room there. Yes.
All are welcome. Do you guys have any questions? Or you can still do it for fun,
My
or?
answer for the tiebreaker.
It's not fun.
Technically, that could be one.
That's good.
Yeah. The votes could be more than one.
That's right. No wrong.
But they're, I will press that point.
Oh, okay.
I'll one off that. Next time maybe we'll go around. The backyard beside his table. Forget that. It's three houses that are tucked together. You know when they start getting
Follow up on
Yes, they do have that because they're
All
short.
right, everybody, I'm gonna cut you off, pencils down. If you've already finished it, but if you're still working on it, I'll accept the late answer. All right, so just for fun, switch with the neighbor if you've got yours done, and then I'll give you guys the answers to the questions. And maybe we'll, see how many people we got right. So, question 1. What year was the Crystal Beach Lakeview Community Association founded? Was it A, 1965, B, 1975, C, 1985, or D, 1995? Who had 1975? There we go. Right answer. We established in 1960 and then the Community Association a few years after that. All right, question number 2. Approximately how many households are within the boundaries of the Crystal Beach Lakeview Community Association or community? A, 750, B, 1,000, C, approximately 1,200, D, 1,450. Who had C, 1,200?
Oh, there you go.
There we go. It's on our website.
We've been genius.
So I don't know how statistically accurate that is, but that's the thing. All right, question number 3. Which major wetland rehabilitation project in Crystal Beach Lakeview played a role in? Was it A, Stillwater Project, B, the Greenbelt Restoration, C, the Rideau River Cleanup, or D, the Ottawa Wetlands Initiative? Who has A, the Stillwater Project?
Oh, well, that's not good.
And our claim to fame there is Ian McConaughey, who led the initiative. And you can check it out on the Ottawa Wildlife Center website. All right, question number 4.
I don't think I'm getting accepted.
What is the name of the community newsletter that you all receive every month that called you here tonight? Is it A, the Beach Bulletin, B, the Lakeview Ledger, C, the Crystal Chronicles, or D, Neighborhood News? Who has D, Neighborhood News? There we go.
By the way, they were made up.
Thank you. Microsoft Copilot had a hand in helping.
No ChatGPT.
Yeah, the advertising is free today. Okay, question number 5. How many parks fall within the boundaries of Crystal Beach Lakeview? Is it 2, 3, 4, or D, 6? Who answered 3? You were wrong.
There we go. Hey.
So I also only had 3 because I was just looking at Google Maps. And then I sent this around to our executive, and Hope, who's not here tonight, she corrected me, and she said, no, on the city geo database, there's a fourth, and it's off of Corkstown Park, and it's the ravine, and I can't remember the name of it right now.
Winslow Park? Winthrop or Winslow?
Winthrop Park.
Then why aren't there five? Because Dickville Park and Adelaide count as two.
But they're not inside. They're
They're not.
adjacent.
Oh,
They're regional thingy.
Yeah.
they don't count?
They don't count because it's not inside the community.
Okay, so then which
So we
four?
have
So
Lakeview.
we've got Mackey Park, Lakeview, Corkstown Park, where there's the pool and the tennis courts, and it's right down there on Polly Acres. Corktown, sorry.
Yeah.
And that other one, the fourth one is?
Winthrop, which is off of Corkstown and follows the creek. So Water Creek.
It's like the green space around is still there.
That's a little bit obscure.
It's super obscure. It's not on Google Maps either, so if you look there, you won't find
City's
it.
counting.
All the, their kids.
All right, question number 6. What type of wildlife is commonly found in the wetlands near Crystal Beach Lakeview? Is it A, beavers, D, deer, C, herons, or D, all of the above?
All of the above.
All of the above.
And add fox.
And we saw foxes. As noted and documented on our community Facebook.
Yes.
All right, and last, this is just a straight number, you get to guess, it's for fun. How many boats can be moored here when it's not winter, at the European Sailing Club? Now, if you took a guess, who said, about 100?
More than that.
Who has about 250? Who's got 400? Who thinks it's about 501? 501.
I wrote all of them, does that count?
There you go. All right, everybody, so, those are the fun little bits of information about our neighborhood, and if they're wrong, blame co-pilot because they gave me the answers too. And the CBLCA executive who helped check me. Thanks everybody for coming. It looks like we've got a quorum. This is super fantastic. Thank you so much all for coming, braving the snow. This is incredibly important for us as an association so that we can continue to be a going concern. If anyone knows our bylaws, if we don't have quorum at the AGM, we've got like one more chance to make it happen or we have to fold, so thanks for coming. I've got our agenda here. So quick rundown, we've done the icebreaker, we're a little over time. Calling us to order now, I gave myself 10 minutes because I'm long-winded. We're gonna jump after that into some committee reports. And then we'll just say thank you to the outgoing board. We're then after that gonna propose a nomination slate for the new board for 2024-2025. We've got room if you're feeling ambitious. We'll invite Teresa to speak unless she has to leave, in which case we'll let you go at any point. Okay, you're good for that? And then after Teresa's had a chance to chat and address us all, we'll call it a night. If you are feeling snacky, we do have some cookies and fruit and some square bars at the side. There's coffee and tea at the back. The bar is a cash bar, so don't run up a big tab and say it's for Nick. And other than that, I think we're good to go. Oh, we'll run after. Yeah. Okay, so my president's report. I don't do a super ton other than make sure that we have meetings regularly and write newsletters. So I'm not going to steal anybody else's thunder on the activities of the committees. I do want to talk about our highlights that I'm happy about. One, we had our Winter Carnival, which is one of our 2 key cornerstone social events in our community that we take the lead on. I know there are a lot of other community social events that we don't take the lead on, which I'm jealous of, but I'm just happy that they're successful, so that's great. We weren't able to have Wheel Day this year. Everyone was a little bit busy, schedules were hectic, and by the time we got around to it, it wasn't gonna be a super ton of fun, so we thought better to save our money and resources for next year, when we can be better organized and hopefully have, more volunteer availability, and that's it. We've stayed current on, community developments affecting the community. We've done our best to keep everybody apprised of those events and those, developments, some within our control, most not in our control, so, if you guys aren't happy with the infill development regulations, that's not us. Talk to Doug or Justin about how you feel about that. We do have constant struggles as a volunteer organization, with turnover, so we do have a number of outgoing members who are gonna be calling it quits for the year. We'll get there, when we get there, and we'll say thank you to them, because it's been a big challenge. There's a lot to do, there's a lot of meetings regularly, and it requires availability to have an ambitious agenda, so, you know, it's tough. And everyone's got a life and a job and everything else, unless you're retired, in which case you've got grandkids and travel, so more fun things to do. Okay, with that being said, Merv, I'm gonna call you up and you can run down our report for 2023-2024. Merv Sullivan.
Thanks, everyone. As you've already said, we really appreciate your coming out tonight, because although Nick said, you know, you get one more shot at it before you have to dispel the whole group. When you go through the treasurer's report, there is a financial aspect to that also, and I'll just go through that in the balance sheet in a minute. But we have, you know, about $35,000 in terms of assets. If the community association were to have to disband, that money would have to be dispersed to various social charities. So it's worthwhile just from that one aspect for us to keep this association going. Just to go over the two items, I have an income and expense report, and there's also a balance sheet. And if I can keep the microphone up here, we'll keep going. As you can see at the bottom of that report, our net income for the year was approximately $4,400, and to a large extent that was due to the donations that we received. We received $4,000 in terms of donations, and that consisted of one bequest from one of the residents for $2,000. And we're looking into how that should be used. There was no specifications in the bequest. We're looking at the possibility of having a small library, possibly in Mackey Park. I think we're open to a few other ideas at this point, because one of the problems with something like that is you might have a little bit of problems with that in the park at night time as to who might take a few extra books out. But the problem with having it in Mackey House itself is that that's closed quite a bit at a time, so there's not an opportunity to use it. There were two other donations that are significant, and one of them is from the Ottawa Valley Poker Guild, and the other from the Old Forge Rug Hooking Group, who each gave $1,000. And if you look back to the pandemic, we stopped charging for households or for families to join. We had a fee at that point, I think it was $5 per household, and just went on with the association. And we've now gone back to the situation where we charge people $5 per session for the use of the Mackey House. There's a few yoga groups, and they have three sessions a year. For all the community association support groups, like the guides, the scouts, that sort of thing, there's no charge for them to use the facility. going back to that report, the first item on there was the youth sports. And, there are a couple of women in the, I don't see them here tonight, there's, Amanda and, Kristen. But, they run a youth sports group, which, does an awful lot for the children in this community. And, they support us, their income, was $4,160. If you go down to the youth sports expenses, it was about $2,200. And so there was about a $2,000 surplus there for the year. But that varies from year to year depending on what kind of equipment they have to buy, nets, balls, and all that sort of thing. But the carnival, there was an $825 income, and that was from Patty Brown Real Estate. She supported the horse, the horse-drawn rides that we have during the carnival. And we're gearing up for that carnival again this year. So we're probably going to get a little bit of support there. The carnival total expenses were about $2,178, and that was for the food, for other expenses that we had. We've had scientists come in there, and I think we're looking forward to having that again this year. That decision will be made in the next meeting. Wheel Day, we did not have one this year. There were a number of reasons for it. And I think we're looking at possibly rejigging that a little bit this year, giving it a different name and perhaps having a few different activities. So if you have any ideas, let us know about that. Let us know about anything that you might want to have here. We had already, if you look down at expenses for Wheel Day, we already had spent $130 on fees to the city because we also have to pay to use the Mackey House, believe it or not. And by the way, just going back to youth sports for 1 minute, they use the field over at Mackey, and despite what you might think, we have to pay for the use of that field. Now that goes towards servicing the field and the administration behind it and so on. For that youth group, one of the expenses that they had was $600 to use those fields during the summer. The next item on the income is rink, and that's a city funded idea where they provided us with just over $3,700. And that money goes to pay the people who are in charge of doing or keeping that rink going. And so it's a balanced expense income. Other income, we had, and we still have a GIC with our bank, and that income is $887, which was interest on that. So the total expenses, total revenue is what you see on there, and expenses, which left us with a balance or an income of $400.
Sorry. Yeah, 4,454. Oh. Yeah, you're right. For the balance sheet?
Okay, going on to the balance sheet, cash on hand, we have small petty cash amount of $41.50. The bank has $12,374, and we looked at the possibility of getting a short-term GIC that we could draw down during the year, but there are bank expenses that we have to pay if we have below a certain amount, so it was better if we just left that money in the bank and don't get charged bank fees. We have at this point in time, a GIC of $20,850, and that leaves us with total assets of about $33,266, and no liabilities means that's our total net assets. That GIC that's currently running is a 4.8% and matures next February, which I assume we will reinvest. Any questions? I'd be glad to ask them. I'd be glad to answer them. You ask. Good.
Great.
So I guess, if there's no other, questions, I would, move that we, receive the financial statement for the year. You want to-
Yeah, I'll second that motion, and then everybody in favor of accepting the treasurer's report? Does anybody not like what they heard? Okay, good. You don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting necessarily. Okay, so I also did want to make one comment just about the finances, and I know it may seem like we are doing well financially, which we are, we're doing pretty okay. But this is our first surplus in a number of years, I'm gonna say this is my first surplus. Last year we had a fairly significant negative drawdown on our bank balance as we made investments buying a new snow blower, if everybody recalls, for Mackey Ring. And then the year before that, I think it was just, we had no income from fees and expenses for Mackey, and we were kicking up our activities again and having Wheel Day and the Winter Carnival post-COVID. So that's just like a little bit of a context picture. I think over my term, the last 3 years, we're still negative. So everyone's support for our events has continued to be appreciated. And yeah, this is also, I think, one of our most important functions as a board. Of course, I don't want to say that the other stuff that we don't do is not important, but like having a bank account to support the activities in the community is one of our, I think, core functions. So with that being said, I want to invite Amanda up for Parks and Rec. And Amanda.
Hello everyone. So this year's Mackey House programs, as Nick mentioned, have been ramped up. A lot of groups that didn't come back after COVID have now returned to Mackey House and are now functioning groups again. So we actually have 22 groups that utilize Mackey House regularly, and that works through the Community Partner Insurance Program that we apply for through the city, and through the CBLCA's insurance program, we can then book free bookings for the Mackey House users so that the rental fees are waived, and that allows groups like guides, scouts, youth sports, to utilize the space for no fee to use the inside of Mackey. As Merv mentioned, there is a fee for the field use. However, those groups also include some craft groups, so the rug hooking group and the quilters group, as well as some new groups like the Euchre Club that we added this year. They are all using the space regularly, and Mackey House is pretty much fully booked all the time, so it gets a ton of use, and it's great to see the community fully utilizing such a beautiful space. And if you haven't had a chance to visit Mackey House before, it really is such an inviting building. It looks like a cottage, and it's all like wood and wood walls all the way around, so it's really a beautiful space to visit. If you haven't been before, check out the Winter Carnival this year, because it's such a wonderful space to see and to see the community using. So by booking through the CBLCA, those groups can fully utilize the space to their advantage, because it keeps their fees down for their programs, allowing them to meet on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, however often they set up their programming to do so. And as Merv mentioned, we had the Winter Carnival in January 2024, and that was hosted at Mackey House with the assistance of the rink volunteers who keep the rink in great shape every year. And we also had sponsorship provided by Patty Brown, who, again, as Merv mentioned, supplied us with the horse sleigh ride. And as I mentioned, Mackey Ring, a huge thank you to Tim Hewson and his team. They look after that rink. They actually just started this week to do flooding for the 2024-2025 season. And if you don't know, they actually flood at 3 a.m. to capture the coldest time of day to make sure that they get a great flood on that rink. And they try to maintain it as long as they can into the spring session. And as well as the youth sports, we also want to thank, as Merv mentioned, Amanda Kirkbrez and Corinne Coopers, because they organize the youth sports for the summer. And for youth sports, if there is a fee with it, but if there are any families who require financial assistance, enrollment fees can be waived. So if you have any families that you know in the community who would like to sign up, where the fees may be a little bit of a challenge, they can always reach out to CBLCA Parks and Rec or to Amanda or Corrine, and those fees can be waived for the entry. And as far as Mackey Rink goes, they are always looking for more volunteers, and they are just kicking off their season right now. So if you're interested in volunteering, on the Facebook page, you can find a lot of information about the rink, but they also have an Instagram feed at Mackey Rink CB. So you can follow them on there. That'll give you updates not only about volunteering, but also if the rink is closed down, if there's inclement weather. And that's it from Parks and Rec. Thanks, everyone.
And now we have for the meat of the what we do, we've got Kate Twist for Transportation Infrastructure and Planning Committee.
Thank you, Nick. So, the committee changed its name this year to the Transportation Infrastructure and Planning Committee because that name more accurately reflects the subjects that we cover. The members of the 2024 Transportation Infrastructure and Planning Committee were Michael Fleming, Mark Hollett, Nick Martinez, Ian McConaughey, Rick Nelson, Katrina Pack, Andy Klitz, and myself, Kate Twist. For part of the year, Anita Brandon Bygart and Linda Newton also worked on the committee. Would any members of the TIP who are here tonight please stand up and take a bow? So Ian and Rick, Nick has left us. Anybody else that I missed? If you have ideas on how to shape the future of Crystal Beach Lakeview and you like learning and communicating, please consider joining us. There's lots of work to do. To be honest, it's a bottomless pit, and you can do as much as you were interested in and capable of. I won't read off all the meetings and activities that we engaged in, but some of the most significant things are the Federation of Citizens Associations meetings, because we learned so much there from other communities, and attending city meetings, either as Zoom meetings or in person, especially of the Planning and Housing Committee and the Transit Committee. Attending city and ward information meetings on things like the new zoning bylaw, the budget, the LRT, or planning for seniors were all very valuable. In the category of transportation, it was a year of pushing and pulling. So trying to slow traffic down around the CBL and trying to keep it moving everywhere else. Local traffic calming. In November last year, Councillor Kavanaugh offered traffic calming to the neighborhood and asked us to recommend streets for the work. We collected that feedback and sent it in, and had emails back and forth with Councillor staff member Barbara, who she's very efficient and very helpful, and she interacted for us with the city staff. But there's a lot of demand for their services, even just here in Bay Ward. And while we're waiting to get more detail about, while we waited, we tried to get more detail about the community's wants, but I think people had sort of said what they wanted to say. We didn't find out a lot more, but what we did find out, we'll pass on to Barbara soon. There was a parking on Medale incident, which I included separately just because it took so much time. So much work went into it. Getting a sign, moving the sign, seeing if the complainant, who to be fair did most of the work himself, wanted to manage a petition to get parking shut down on the whole street. Researching the rules and so on, communicating with the resident and the councillor's office. If I go on Google Maps Street View and look up and down Carling at other intersections, The signage at the Dale is typical. It was frustrating that LRT2 construction kept delaying the opening of the Watts Creek path. It had been closed for construction of a new pedestrian and cycling bridge. We were glad when the path finally opened. We aren't getting much in the way of answers about construction closures and detours on Holly Acres. It was also frustrating to attend a board meeting on LRT2 and have the discussion of the project start at the east end, where there are huge issues, I have to admit, and kind of run out of time at our end. It might be easier to put up with the detours if we knew what the detours on Holly Acres, if we knew what the holdup is. And there were a lot of emails around these issues. Bike and pedestrian connections to Bell's Corner generally continue to be a big issue. We filed a 311 request to get pavement replaced on Holly Acres, and it has been to some extent. And we've been working with Qualicum and Bike Ottawa to increase usability of multi-use paths on Holly Acres Road. Although the Lincoln Field secondary plan was heard by Planning and Housing Committee, and not the Transportation Committee, it's the conversion of the Carling Parkway ramps to a signalized intersection that could have a huge impact on mobility throughout the north half of the city. So the TIP sent a submission about that issue. That awful intersection where the bicycle path crosses Corkstown Road at Moody Station is probably the community's biggest concern. The TIP sent a design proposal to the LRT2 team, and the details of the proposal were recently published on the Crystal Beach Lakeview Community Association website if you want to see them. And we're waiting to hear back from the LRT2 people. Project manager said it may take some time because she's pushed the suggestions on to the engineering team. We advocated for transit with the Crystal Beach Community Association itself, with the Federation of Citizens Association, the city, the province, and the federal government. But Ottawa has big financial problems. Somehow though, if density is going to work, we have to figure out transit. Local traffic calming, we'll give our findings to Barbara soon, and we'll continue to interact with her and through her with the city staff. You can continue to give me feedback. If you get it to me soon, I'll get it to Barbara. You can put it on the community, on the website, under find one of the traffic articles. The budget goes to council soon. I don't know if we're going to get anything more added to it. The city has no money anyway, so I don't know. Moody Station design proposal, we'll keep following up with the LRT2 staff as needed. And a second draft of the transportation master plan is due in the spring. We'll give feedback on that. And we will continue to work with the Federation of Citizens Associations to research and understand the issues. And we will keep advocating for transit and for bike and pedestrian connections to Bell's Corners. And we'll continue to monitor the LRT2 construction issues and follow up as necessary. The Lakeview Ditch project is in progress. The surveyors were seen taking measurements throughout Lakeview this summer. We were successful in supporting the Ottawa Carleton Wildlife Centre in their fight for an up-to-date and more humane wildlife management strategy. We attended webinars and meetings on greenwashing parks and parkways for people. There was a Community Associations for Environmental Sustainability workshop on federal and municipal programs for climate adaptation and resilience. And we also worked with the city staff to put on presentations at Mackey House about the Rain Ready Ottawa program and Build Better Ottawa program. I'm not sure when construction will begin on the actual construction on the Lakeview ditches. There will be design work first, so I don't know if it will actually begin this summer or not. My understanding is that they start from the biggest stormwater that actually goes into the river or the creeks or wherever it goes, and then they work back up from that. We'll continue to fight for parks and recreation and for the green space on all four sides of this. We will monitor the Stillwater Station development project in Bell's Corners and the possibility that that will include a road through the green belt. We will continue to advocate for our fur and feathered neighbors. The NCC is due for a review of the Greenbelt Master Plan, so we will be seeing that if it happens, reviewing that if it happens. And maybe we'll go talk to Anita Vandenbelt and find out what's going on with her and the federal government around the NCC. We'll monitor their website and news to see what's happening. Climate change and resilience are not probable issues for next year. They will definitely be issues, but what form they will take, we don't know. We could really use community participation in tackling climate change problems. If it's something you care about, please lend a hand. "2024 was a year of detail, research, change, learning, and lots of paper to go through. For planning, the work mainly centered around the new zoning bylaw. City and the FCA held a lot of meetings and workshops on the new zoning bylaw offered by the city and the FCA, and we tried to follow what other communities were saying and changes that were proposed even by the federal government. We did raise a question about mistakes we saw on the maps, but they seem to have been early presentation maps and not integral to the actual zoning bylaw. Otherwise, we've been mostly been in listening and learning mode. There were multiple documents, surveys, and sets of documents preceding the new zoning bylaw, and now research is flowing back into it. The second draft will come out next March. Multiple city efforts, we struggled to stay on top of the city's efforts to adjust to the Ford government's planning chaos caused by bills such as 23, 109, 185, and a new provincial planning statement. The city added various procedures and omnibus changes to the existing official plan and changes to the existing zoning bylaw. In one meeting, I felt sorry for the councillors. The new provincial planning statement allows landowners to apply to change the city's boundaries at any time, not just when the official plan is being reviewed. And the staff had to put new procedures in place. Councillor Kitts asked forlornly, "Can we get a refund on our official plan? It's like the dog ate our homework." On One Corkstown Road, we wrote a couple of information articles and attended the tour. Stillwater Station is proposed in Bell's Corners. At this point, it was just research and monitoring, sort of walking out to get the lay of the land. The development documents were updated for provincial municipal changes, so we reviewed that. 70 and 80 Woodridge Crescent. We spoke at Planning and Housing Committee about the 70 and 80 Woodridge Crescent proposal, not to try to stop the towers, they're near a transit station, but to ask questions about our general concerns. What is the long-term plan to provide adequate parks and green space throughout Ottawa, especially in the outer urban transit? Are we paying attention to the official plan, Schedule 13, scenic routes? Are we confident in our technical decisions? Will we have a coordinated plan for the future development around Carling and Bayshore? We also kept an eye on the Committee of Adjustment agendas just to see what sort of development is going on and if anything needed attention. I'm almost done here. The second draft of the new zoning bylaw comes out in the spring, and we'll continue to monitor feedback from other communities. We'll listen to any CBL residents who have concerns and push them up if necessary. With any luck, the provincial planning chaos is over. Maybe they'll focus on an election and stop pestering municipalities and the environment for a while. We'll continue to monitor the proposed apartment buildings at 3430 Carling, formerly Villa Lucia. We don't know when the apartments will be built. We can engage again at the site plan stage, although with provincial cuts to public engagement, there will be less time and it will be more difficult for us to contribute. We don't know when the 4 towers at Bayshore will be built. We will wait and watch. Stillwater Station, same with Stillwater Station in Bell's Corners. We don't know when development will occur, we'll wait and watch. Will there be more deals with professional sports team owners? Will we have more deals with them? Will another deal happen in 2025? And will that be the best use of our money in a city that is struggling to provide housing and transit? Stay tuned.
Thank you, Kate, for that wonderful rundown. I think there may be a few questions for you, so if you can just stay nearby. We'll take some questions regarding the transportation, infrastructure, and planning. Everything that you heard, obviously, is up for grabs here, so if you have a question.
I have a couple.
Okay.
First of all, I just wonder, what is Stillwater Station?
There's a development proposed there's a development proposed in Bell's Corners, sort of on the edge of the green belt, behind, kind of behind Loblaws. Actually, it's more behind the trailer park. That place they used to call the trailer park.
That's the old Steve Barker's lumber site that broke down, I think.
But it's, right now it's kind of green space, but to get into it, they would probably need to build a road across the green belt. I guess that's our main concern, and maybe what damage they might do to Stillwater Creek, and it's, you know, it's gonna be more like towers and stuff. They're calling it Stillwater Station, right, to try and emphasize.
1,500 houses, wasn't it? Or 1,500 units?
Oh, it's not houses.
Well, it's be a mix, I think.
I can't remember, to be honest, but, I was thinking it's mostly towers.
It's
isn't it?
towers.
Yeah, I
Towers?
think it's towers. Yeah.
And can you tell us what's going on in Villa Lucia, or what's not going on?
No, I can't.
You have no idea?
Nothing.
20 bucks. 20 bucks a question.
That goes to Microsoft. Yeah, no, I honestly don't know. I
Well, the
mean,
longer nothing happens, is it the more likely nothing will happen?
No, it will happen, it's been passed. Yeah, no, they will build 2 6-story apartment buildings there.
I think a concern with that would be, can they come back and ask for another building now? Can they've got permission to build a 6-story building, maybe regionals. Can they come back and say, oh, we want to build 20 stories now? Because developers are known for this kind of escalation, and the city seems to be, don't care.
Construction should start soon. I
Speculation.
think it's highly unlikely they're gonna change it this fall.
Okay, but they could though.
I'm not gonna go there.
Not happening.
We're
Not
talking
happening.
about the site, they're expected to build as planned.
So they started last summer putting stuff into the way.
So the Stillwater Station development in Bell's Corners, from what you just described, and I never heard of it until today. That's, I mean, towers, so we're looking at people,
Yeah.
a lot of people. So when we talk about transit,
Yes.
I mean, one of the biggest things about transit is if nobody's gonna take it, then, you know, why have a bus? So if we have the population that supports the transit, so I remember one of these meetings where we talked about the land that used to be at St. Thomas. And everybody was like, oh no, they're gonna be putting housing, it's gonna be lots of housing, and, you know, it doesn't fit with the neighborhood. And it was, you know, at that time I was taking the bus to work every day, and, you know, half the people in the meeting were people that I used to take the bus with and who no longer took the bus because they retired. So it's like, if we don't have people, then we don't have people to take the bus. And then we don't get transit, and then we complain that we don't get transit because we don't have the people to support it.
And you're right, and on the bright side, there would have to be some kind of transit to get these people from their apartments in Bell's Corners to Moody Station, which has somehow magically become part of this Stillwater Station. And I don't know, Stillwater Station seems like a leading name to me. It's a bit far from the station.
It's like Crystal Beach. It's a bit far from the beach.
Sure. I remember when I had my house on Burn, when we bought our house on Burnbrook, they showed steamships sailing up. Anyway, yeah, marketing, but,
We've got a few more questions here, so we'll probably move on from this one. Thank you. Ian, you had your hand up first, then we'll come to this lady here.
Yeah, just a further comment on Stillwater Station. when we were looking at this 2 years ago, when the first proposal came out, there were two main issues there. Not so much the intensification of Bell's Corners, but the safety associated with that, as well as the environmental impacts. Because a community of that size, if you look at standards in the United States, and they are not generally fully embraced in Canada, but the standards for a community of that size would be, at a minimum, you need 2 roads in and out of the community for a safety standard. The Stillwater Station design has no entry points on Robertson Road. There's only one entry point, and that's off of Moody Drive at Tim Drive. So the Tim Drive T-junction becomes a 4-way intersection, and that's the main entrance for that entire community to the east. That's a danger from a safety standpoint if you get into the reality of environmental changes, potential for wildfires, potential for a disaster to occur, could be the weather, could be a major weather event, and people having to get out of there on an urgent basis and not being able to do so because you have one exit at the far west. So that was one of the major things. Crystal Beach Lakeview put a rather extensive submission through the whole planning process at that stage. The second piece was that road entrance goes straight through Greenbelt land. And the idea of, well, we'll cut here and we'll get more Greenbelt land somewhere else. No, it's sensitive area. And we were able to demonstrate through the environmental investigation that was done as part of their proposal, clearly stated it was going to be going through several sections that were unique environmental areas within that section of the Greenbelt. So we were strongly opposed to it, and everything has stopped at this part. So we don't know the latest design plans, what sort of changes can be done. Can they bring entryways off of Robertson Road and avoid this whole Greenbelt incursion? So that's where we remain concerned. Frankly, yes, I think the Bell's Corners is a logical place for increased intensification of a building, and the concept of multi-story developments alongside of Richmond Robertson Road makes some sense, logically. But it's how you do it to be environmentally and safety compliant. So that's where it stands right now.
All right, thanks Ian for that little update. We're going here to the lady in the purple jacket.
Okay, my question is just, because D&D brings a lot of population into our community already, and if you're gonna bring another bigger population of residents coming and going, and Moody is a big infrastructure on and off the highway, bringing people from everywhere to and from. So, in my respect, I sort of question, as your idea about bringing it from Robertson Road versus Moody seems a lot more logical to me.
Great, thank you for your comments. Teresa, we'll give you the opportunity to speak next.
That's actually Lane's. Lane
Yes,
Johnson.
it's Lane, so I haven't been following it as closely, but I did get visited by the by developer representatives way back. It's 1,925 units, but it's mixed, including commercial. So it's could have restaurants and retail at the ground level, and a mixture of different types of structures, including up to 20 stories, but also doesn't say specifically, but I'm guessing it includes like stacked townhouses, etc. So very much a blend, and it's 21 hectares of land in Bell's Corners. So it's been a while, because it was 2021 when I first heard about it. So sometimes these things sit for a while, especially something that large. So so there hasn't been much action. I can check with Lane if she's heard anything, but
One of, like some of these residents are saying, one of the good things about it is that it would give us more of an argument for improving the transit service to Bell's Corners.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's right.
that get our circle back,
Yes.
that we used to have with the 166.
And the multi-use pathway, that's one.
Well, that, yeah.
Yep. That's right. So that's where it is right now.
Thanks to Mike Pat.
Yep.
And we had a couple more questions. This lady first.
In your comments to the city on the Lincoln Field secondary plan, the ramp removal at the Parkway,
Yes.
did you get any feedback from the city about studying it properly in the transportation master plan?
I have to say that this is very preliminary, and I'm pretty sure they'll do more work on it. When push comes to shove, they won't just shut that, surely. Right? The secondary, Lincoln Field secondary plan,
The
get
off
rid of
ramps
the ramps
from
and-
Carling to
and-
the River Parkway.
Yeah, that's getting a transportation study of its own. That's getting a transportation study of its own.
There is a preliminary, I tracked it down too late, there is a preliminary transportation study, but it doesn't, it's too early, like, they couldn't, it doesn't really.
Isn't that in the Lincoln Field secondary plan that's being passed from council?
Yes.
So if it's going to transportation,
It's
why
been
is it
passed,
there?
but we don't know, like, there's no timing, that's, the issue with the development of the transit is all in timing.
But even passing it sets a precedent, I think. But they should move from that and say it's going to be studied in transportation. Because all the drawings last week, I did look, none of them showed that, they all showed these things, circles.
Okay, I think a couple more hands I saw over at this table, so we'll start with you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Sarah. Thank you for the presentation. That was really interesting. I'm just curious, and maybe I can continue the conversation another time with you, but what types of activities in general are you looking at when you say, you'd like more support around climate change issues?
People who can do research and learn stuff, who can monitor events from other organizations like community associations for environmental sustainability. There's just too many meetings for me to go to them all.
And we're also missing our environment chair, which is a vacant position that we've had since Andy stepped down from that position, which would just be like, we used to have, I think, a community cleanup along the Ottawa River. I know Kevin did it a couple years back, grabbed some folks with some garbage bags, clean up the side of the river that, abuts our community. Honestly, like, it can be, again, as small or as large a mission as the individual would like to
This is
take on.
stuff that very much falls in your interests, right? Like if you're keen on rain or electricity or cleaning up,
Resiliency.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? You can take it when, there's
You
so
just like
much
to plan
fun.
potlucks?
Take it whenever
My
you're.
old community association, there was a very active potluck. It goes every week to a different house in the community in Britannia Village. It's wonderful, I never went, but I hear good things, I'm still on the email distribution list, I find out when people left stuff at other people's houses. And I also find out sadly when some of my former neighbors have passed away, and then I can, say something, but it's nice.
Environmental theme community potluck.
Environmental theme community potluck, very good. Do we have any more questions for Kate and Tip?
How close is that 40-story tower to replace the sailing club? What, I never heard
Oh,
of
that's
that.
a joke. I'm
Oh.
sorry. You can never predict, we can never predict in this community, right?
They're
Like,
gonna
we
build a
didn't,
big
we
warehouse
didn't,
here for the Academy.
we didn't predict a bridge through Andrew Hayden Park. We didn't predict a light maintenance and storage facility behind Salva Drive. We didn't predict any of this stuff. You never know where it's coming from. It's crazy. And I feel like a lot of people don't see Crystal Beach, Lakeview. It's just an empty space on the way to Canada. Put anything there you want, right? It's kind of, so why not 40 strict?
Yeah, but it's one of the few communities with a lighthouse just
Yes,
outside.
Right.
we did get that, didn't we?
Yes, in our community, to have the park, to see, I walk through the park often, and to see so many people walking through the park any time of the year, that park is so well used. I just think it's, Andrew Hayden and the Lighthouse.
And the sailing
Yeah,
club,
the
yeah,
cover.
absolutely.
Totally.
They're
I
such
can't-
an asset to us, we're so
Totally.
lucky.
Amazing.
We're so lucky, yeah.
Okay, I think we'll wrap up the tip report there. All in favor of accepting Kate's report? Thank you, Kate, so much for your comprehensive report. All right, so this is the sad part where we get to say goodbye to some of our outgoing members of the executive. So we're saying goodbye to all of us before we all come back. So we're saying goodbye to me, Kevin, past president, who will continue to be past president until I'm not president. Katrina Pack, who is our vice president this past year. Katrina's expressed that she won't be coming back, so sadly, we're losing Katrina for good, at least for now. Hope, who can't be here with us tonight, I hope she's having a good night and feeling better. She's our secretary. Merv, our treasurer, you heard from him earlier. Jeffrey Delone. Jeff, can you give stand up and say why? Hi. He fills your inbox every month. Getting the Crystal Beach Quibbler out. I mean, I think that's wrong. Neighborhood news. We've got Kate Swiss, who we all just heard from. So thank you, Kate, for all your wonderful work this past year. I know Tip does a lot of great work. It's a lot. You guys it's a team effort, and it's a lot. So thank you guys so much for all of your efforts and keeping the community informed. I know it's what a lot of people. Our Pulse survey last year indicated a lot of people really like the transportation infrastructure and transit issues, and they think it's extremely important. So it says to me that the work that you guys do is very important, both actually and then also people care about it. So it's extra important. Amanda Furby, who has led our Parks and Rec for the last 5 years? Geez, 5 years. Has also decided to hang up her gloves. So this is her last year with us. We're all very sad. And we just want to say thank you to Amanda. So I'm going to say thank you, Amanda, please. For all of that effort. We're hoping she doesn't go too far. And Rick, our zone rep. John Olewski, our also zone rep, who's stepping up to the plate for next year, taking on Parks and Rec. That's a spoiler alert. So everybody, all right, thank you. Nominations. So I'm gonna call for nominations. We have some vacancies. You can also challenge any of us, please, any of us, for any positions at all, including president. You could be president. Just like Trump. So I think I have to say this 3 times. So we're calling for nominations to the floor. Anybody interested in any of the positions, president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, Parks and Rec, communications? Call for nominations going once. There's no pay, no benefits. Call for nominations going twice. You get to come to meetings with us once a month. Yeah, Merv, you're already on the list.
You should probably just give a quick idea to the group here as to what it entails to take on one of those.
That is a great
And
point, Merv.
the first thing you think about is that we're tying ourselves down here every day for the next year, and it's not quite like Curtis's job.
Yeah.
There's a limited amount of time required, but anyway, I'll leave that to you to enhance.
Yeah, so a little bit about being on the board. And I would also just say, zone rep, very important. All positions are fairly ill-defined in that, other than the Parks and Rec chair, who is kind of responsible for Mackey House, and the communications chair, who has to send out a monthly newsletter, and the TIP chair that has to deal with all of the wonderful craziness of the policy environment around transportation infrastructure and planning. Everything else is...
He's real important too.
And treasurer, yeah, that's right. Keeping the books for youth sports also, it's a challenge in the summertime, but other than that, I think we're pretty easygoing, occasionally writing checks and getting them moving, for counter signatures, if you can find me. Which Merv is good at tracking me down. It's not too much, and you know, our meetings we have, it's not mandatory attendance, it's a volunteer position. Show up and be as involved as you want to be, which, you know, typically or not, like, if you just show up to the meetings, it's an hour to an hour and a half a month. It was the third Thursday of the month, it's now going to be the second Thursday of the month, so if you're free on the second Thursday of the month, this is for you. It's, you know, 7 to 8, sometimes 8:30 if we get talking, but it doesn't have to be. We're mostly remote. Sometimes in person. I think we had 1 or 2 meetings in person this past year. And then we typically will try and really shoehorn people into volunteering for our cornerstone events like Wheel Day and Winter Carnival. But again, you don't have to. It's all volunteer. If you're available, you can also just say you're busy. It's also acceptable. But it can be a great opportunity. I mean, for myself, I've always felt and believed in community service. I was raised a Boy Scout, whatever. I wasn't raised a Boy Scout, but I was a Boy Scout, and community service is a big part of that. And I've stuck with it, so I'm here. And everybody else has their own issues, right? I mean, if you're particularly interested in transportation infrastructure and planning, social events, the environment, and environmental sustainability, if you're interested in dogs and dog parks, that could be a thing that you make your pet project, part of the plan. You know, so it really is, you know, what you make of it, what you want it to be, and just try it out. I'm going to say that. It's a good thing to try out. So, did I cover it, Bert? Yeah? All right. So that's it.
There's only 10 meetings a year if you
Oh
want.
yeah, we take the summers off. It's like teaching. So summer's off. With all that information ahead of you. Call for nominations. Number 3. Going once. Going twice. All right, that's it. But if you want to have another couple drinks and rethink about it, let us know. So, all those in favor of accepting the current slate of nominations? Thank you. This is the third election that I've had that's unanimous. Anyone opposed? No. All right. I'm making the dictators feel shy with their electoral record. There we go. Actually, at this time, I forgot the slide that says Teresa, so.
Okay.
Yeah. If you have questions for us, thank you so much. You can reach us. Our contact information is on the website. The website is here. There's also the general CBLCA email, which will probably just say president because I don't check the general one very much. So try and track me down at president, cblca@gmail.com. I'll update this. I will check right after this. I'll monitor the general for a little bit for sure. Yes, Murph.
Maybe if you just point out that there is a newsletter in case there's some people here who don't.
Oh yeah, there is also a newsletter.
Even if it is called the neighborhood news.
The neighborhood news, you can sign up for it. It's on the Crystal Beach Lakeview website. There's a subscribe tab at the top, and you can join. I think, is it, Jeff, how many do we have? 950 or so?
So we have 1,500 contacts and we get about 900 openings.
Okay, 1,500 contacts and about 900 openings. That's greater than the count of anticipated population maybe in our community. Or more than the number of households. There we go. People are staying connected. Thank you, Murph. And with that, I will pass the floor to Teresa, who can give us a little city update. Teresa Kavanaugh, everybody, your councillor.
Thank you very much. I'm competing with some really nice mood music back there, but it's lovely. So I'll try and speak loud. It's the middle of budget season, got it? So that's what we're doing right now. Today though, I had a planning meeting, planning and housing. It's hard to follow Kate, because she's already covered a lot of stuff in what's going on around here.
And there's no money.
Yeah, that's the first thing, there's no money. So planning and housing was very interesting today. For me, for Bay Ward, there was 2 files. One was on Demorier, and that's for a high rise. And the Pinecrest and Queensview secondary plan today with actually not too much of a problem. Mind you, it came after the very contentious Bank Street file where there's 11 tenants losing their housing as for basically a dereliction. As new housing goes in, they tear down the old housing. So that was the contentious issue of today. And so had a long day. But that was not a budget meeting, but everything else pretty well has been. That's pretty well what happens. The budget gets cut up and sent to the different committees, and I've been to at least 7 of them, and that's including the environment, planning, had a budget meeting, transportation, transit, planning, emergency services, community services, environment, Ottawa Public Health. I'm also chair of Ottawa Community Housing, but that's separate, and that's got its own board. So the contentious one, as we all know, is transit. Transit is $120 million in debt, and it's a tough time to ask for things. I'll tell you, the big controversy is
Is what?
the fare increases in fares. So that did not get resolved because there was motions that were related to increasing the levy, the transit levy. That means it had to go to council. So there will be motions discussed on December 11th. So that could be a long day. But that's the most contentious thing, I'd say, in the budget. Most other things are moving fairly smoothly. There's always lots at community services. We had a number of groups coming, and the big reason is food insecurity. The food bank is their 40th anniversary this year. I went out there to mark it. I don't want to say celebrate it because it's not a celebration. And the need for food is desperate. They've actually had to cut the amount of food they give when people come for food because they can't supply as much as they could before. It's all on donations. They do not rely on city funding. They were asking for city funding, and there's going to be a small amount, but that's not something the city has done before. It's always been a charity in the past, and but the situation is getting pretty bleak. So that's some of the factors that we looked at. It's basically about housing. It's about the fact that housing costs a lot, and it's squeezing people out so they can't afford food. So we need more affordable housing. Ottawa Community Housing is building as fast as they can, but that's not terribly fast because it takes a long time. We may get 1,000 units in next year. That's phenomenal, but there's 12,000 people on a waiting list. So we want to see more building. We want to see more homes, but it's hard to keep up. So those are some of the things that we're dealing with. I'm just gonna look. Yeah, I appreciate very much Kate, and she's working very closely with Barb primarily. Barb is my staff person, deals with all the transportation issues, and so looking at all those, and there's a lot. And that's one of the things that in the budget they didn't really increase. We have what's called the TTC, the temporary traffic calming budget. Nobody wants temporary. Everybody wants permanent. And the only thing in our, our bag there is, putting speed humps, things like that. The price of them has almost doubled, which means we can't do very many. And it's very much a whack-a-mole business. You put them on one street, the other street wants it, especially if they're parallel. You guys don't have many parallel streets, but the other neighborhoods they do. And that's, so it's, but it's just human nature, people avoid things and then they go another way. So, the biggest, issue we've had is stage 2 LRT, traffic issues, detours, it's a lot. And it's actually not related to the actual train construction, it's the reconstruction of Richmond Road that is actually the pain in the neck right now, let's call it that. It's gonna be great, but the next year was not so great. And the big detour took a side street to make it arterial, and that was Byron. It's going to, I made a big fuss about it on Friday because we had a subcommittee of the LRT subcommittee, so I raised that to make sure that they understood the impact it's having on communities. So, that takes up a good chunk of time because there's just so much going on. When there's so much change, it affects people's street. So talk about traffic calming from one day to the next, they need more of it. So I'm trying to work through that, and the new project manager for the stage 2, I made him come down and take a look at it so he can see for himself. Yeah, so that's probably the most intense thing that's going on. Yeah, and I'd say probably the overall issue that concerns me in the long term is not just, well, we know the transit deficit, but the infrastructure deficit. And that is when things age out, do we have the money to replace them? The example we have in Bay Ward is Belltown Dome. The Belltown Dome, its refrigeration mechanisms are totally worn out and it's too expensive to replace them. So they're going to try and have natural ice in there. Now it's a totally unheated, it's basically just a cover over a ring. But it's going to be an experiment this year. And it's the future of the building itself. It's starting to corrode, it's getting old. So what is its future? The city doesn't want to have single pads anymore. They want to have double pads because of the maintenance costs. So this is kind of like the first example of what's happening across the city. And, you know, so, okay, you knew this was coming up, but where's the money to replace it or to do something? That's the concern. And that you'll see. I mean, Mackey House is in great shape. By the way, everybody wants a Mackey House. Everybody. I'm working on 2 community buildings, and one of them is in Woodruff Park, replacing an old field house. The second one is in Frank Ryan Park, which is in Queensway Terrace North, also to replace a field house. And the designs we have architectural designs, and pretty much a Mackey House. And that's it. It's what they'll be. They want them so bad. But when am I going to get them? Well, it's through development charges, and I'm probably going to get them in 2027, 2028. So those are that's when they're predicting they'll be in line, because there's so many other things in line. Yeah. So that's that's life. But with that, I'm trying to get communities what you have. Frankly, I see how well it works, and field houses were built in, you know, like the early 1960s, and they're just totally inadequate, and they're even a health hazard. They're kind of moldy and yucky, so we're trying to move on. So those are the efforts we're trying to make across the city. At the same time, we're also getting a lot of intensification. We're getting a lot of projects, you know, the ones in Bayshore. I don't think anything will move until the train is actually running. First of all, just the space alone is a problem. It's pretty tight to build something right beside a project that's being built. But I think stage 2, that's a pretty tight spot. And so there's no dates. They have gotten back to me and said, you know, we're still there, but we're just not ready yet. Everything the pandemic did hurt development. It caused delays for them as well. Interest rates were also a huge problem for developments. So, there's a number of projects that got approved and they didn't move forward. The only one that I've got that's actually moving forward is 1047 Richmond Road, directly across from New Orchard. So that one is moving forward. So the rest are just kind of waiting, and so we'll see what happens. But because of this is probably the most active ward in terms of, because of the construction of the stage 2 LRTs, 7 stations here just in our ward. The 8th one's just in spitting distance at Kitchissippi, and it means development primarily, except for Rudy. So yeah, so that's what I've been doing lately. How about you? Oh, on a good side, it's snowing, and that means winter trails. Winter trails. Please support the winter trails. You guys are so lucky. You're between 2 winter trails. You've got the Ottawa West Winter Trail on the west side, and right here, it ends right here, is the Britannia Winter Trail, and they have a deal with the Nepean Sailing Club Wednesday night dinners. So, you know, kind of where they're accepting people to come in who've been skiing. It doesn't matter if you're a member of the sailing club, come on in on Wednesday evenings. You know, have a ski and dinner. Very nice. Much easier this year because in previous years, we couldn't go along the trail there because the NCC was working on it. Now everything is, you can go right through. Well, so the snow is a good thing. The snow can be a positive thing. And so I encourage you to support the trails. Use them, support them, and they even have lessons in terms of Britannia. They're encouraging people to learn how to ski, including kids, newcomers. They have a deal with the Core Village, and they're teaching newcomers to ski. So it's great to see, and people figure out, you know, if I'm gonna live in Canada, I better like winter. So they're learning to like winter. Okay, so that's just some topics. Hi. Yeah.
Teresa, I just wanted to say thank you. I really appreciate your time and your effort, and I see you, like I know I was so impressed a couple of years ago when you skied all the way down to the museum, you know, like I just think you're such a presence in our community when the ward is so big itself, and that you came to be a touchstone here tonight.
Thank you.
And from like even our Facebook page, from hey, you know, the driveway or the parking road in here tonight to the Nepean Sailing Club was changed because you took action on it, to just last week getting the poop off the benches. You know, like you just seem to be from the largest scale to the most minute. You're answering all of our needs.
Thank you. And my other victory, porta potties. Yay. Last week.
One of them was knocked over.
What, here in Aggravating Park? Did you report it?
No.
Okay, because, okay. We are getting porta potties all year round. And it's one in Aggravating Park and one in Britannia. And this is specifically for the trails, because if buildings are closed up, they're actually taking groups of school kids now. Britannia Winter Trails is extremely active in offering lessons, and they're working with the schools like Regina School because it's right on the trail, and FJ McDonald School. So, but they can't take a school group out unless they know there's a bathroom, and so there's a bathroom. So that was an extra thing we got out of the budget. We're trying to get out a little bit more, but last week was World Toilet Day. How did you celebrate it? Yeah, true. And I was out there with the Gotta Go campaign. They came to City Hall, so but that was great to tell them that we have now made this a permanent item. We got it last year as a push extra, and they realized we need it all year round. You know, there was people picnicking in Britannia Park in November when it was so warm. You know, like that's the reality. Climate change is meaning that people are going to the park all year round. And of course, the trails are there in the winter, so we're trying to help them.
What is a field house?
A field house is, my goodness, I'm laughing because you're so spoiled. The field house is just a basic building that has a washroom and a little room, I can't walk this way, it'll make sense, a washroom and a space for changing, and that's about it. That's all it is.
There's also,
Yeah.
I'm gonna add one more thing. Field houses have bathrooms, a little bit of change room space, but then also storage. And I talked to Amanda about this recently because my son plays in the Ottawa West Little League, and they rent space at the Frank Bryan Field House, or they don't rent it, they just have it, and now they're losing it because Frank Bryan's under construction, so there you go.
It's gonna take a while. Just gave you the dates, it's 2028, so they've got a few years. That's actually a very contentious issue of storage. And it's not just for them, this is across the city. A lot of grandfather agreements, well, storage is space, and space is expensive, and that is a conundrum. It's not just them, it's many other organizations, and not even limited to sports. I'm always getting asked, well, do you think we could just store stuff at, the park or whatever? It sounds so easy and simple. It's not, because it's space, it's room. And if you say, how do you say yes to one and not to the others? So that is a huge problem. I've talked to Sarah about this, and I warned her about that, because when they rebuild that building, it's not going to be about storage. It's going to be about usable space. Yeah, so that'll be, and so they've got 4 years to get ready, but, yeah, they'll figure it out.
Yeah, one question, Stillwater, Dickwell Park and Hayden Park have really become Bayshore in the park. And on the weekends, both of these parks are totally full, you can't get parking in here, even as sending the members sometimes. Now you're putting in these 4 more stories of 4 towers in a Bayshore. What's the city gonna do to increase the parking lot or increase the access here? You can't get a bus here from Bayshore.
So you want to know what we're getting for green space?
Well, yes, and getting all these people going to Bayshore, what parks are they gonna use? And these parks are already full on the weekends now.
Yeah, they have Bayshore Park as well. In terms of the Acora Village development, they do have a POP, which is a privately owned park. They're gonna have green space in that, with the 2 buildings. It's not huge. So that's one of it. That's one part. I'd like to get more. I think there's some green space they could hand over, but,
So all the money that's coming out of those developments, is that going to cities in cash in lieu, or are they gonna try and get some more park space?
they try and get green space first. If they can't get green space, then it's cash in lieu. That's always the first.
Because one of the problems is that if you're in Bayshore and you wanna bring a barbecue over here, you gotta drive. So the parking lot here on the weekends is totally full, and people are parking in the grass, which gives the city lots of money to the parking bylaw. But these parking lots can't handle our people here.
Yeah, it's very full, it's very popular these days. Great. I don't have an answer, of what we can do
The city
immediately.
has approved all these towers in Bayshore, and no one seems to care about it. We've made submissions about the park plan, and we're being dismissed.
Like I said, I'd like to see more green space too, and I think there's, Acora Village does have the space behind those buildings. So I think that's, something we should ask for, but, yeah, it's always an issue. I mean, Centertown, I'll get you in a second. I'm always hearing from the councillor in downtown gets tons of cash in lieu, but she's got nowhere to put it. So at least we have the big parks here. So, I mean, we just, 4 parks here? So that's pretty good. But, yeah, these are regional parks. They're gonna be very popular. They are popular.
So, I'll say after them closed. So my question, I think, it's going to be building off of Rick's a little bit, because I think it was a little bit hard for me to hear him, so I'm just going to say it out loud again. And the
question had to do with saturation of the parking lot specifically, because we have all this beautiful green space, which we're very fortunate to have, and it's wonderful. And of course, they're not just our parks, which is why they were left out of the trivia. They're adjacent to us, they're not inside of our community, they're just on our borders. And so a lot of people who live nearby do come here from the south, from Bayshore, and of course we have a lot of wonderful communities who love to host weekend barbecues and have large picnics and what have you. Inevitably, if people are coming to these parks, they need either transit or they need parking because they have to drive here. And I think, is there any plan at some point to bring improved transit service like buses where people could carpool to a local car park and then come over on a shuttle or something, or a bus, like they can to Britannia Park, for example? And then a second follow-up question, which would be my personal question. With climate change and everything getting hotter, I've noticed, because I've got young kids and I take them to the Britannia Beach, like on a bike trip or what have you, when we get there, and we go to the beach to be at the beach, and you can't get in because the coli or whatever, the red flag's up, and they warn us not to get in the water. Would there be any consideration to putting in like a water park at Britannia Park that's got clean water, so that people who go there expecting to be able to get wet can cool down in the summer months? Okay, that's it.
I wish. That would be a huge expense. Are you talking about building a pool at Britannia? Or?
So I think there is a pool there already. It's actually just behind the,
There's a waiting pool.
there's a wading pool halfway between Britannia Park and FJ McDonald. What I'm thinking about, if anyone here knows Leamington, I'm from southwestern Ontario, so I do. Leamington is known for tomatoes, and they have a community park that was privately, publicly funded, and they've got a giant tomato bell that does, like, it fills with water, and it splashes down every, 30 seconds, and they've got water shooting out of different things, and they've got some lounge chairs, etc. And the city runs programs related to that water park there. Anyways, it's a mini dream of mine if I ever have ambition in time. But like the Leamington Water Park.
There's a water park at Center Point.
Well, there's one right here, just east of.
So.
The Andrew Hayden one's really small. It's like a
It's got
splash
no water.
pad.
Doesn't have a tomato.
It doesn't have any water. It doesn't have any water. It's like the water table.
Basically, that's splash pads. I'm trying to get one for Bayshore, actually.
Yes, that's great.
Bayshore really could use one, because they have tons of kids.
They go to Britannia.
And, it's another expense. I just paid from Cash and Lieu, to get, the water pipes that go to the wading pool winterized, so they can have a rink there, an outdoor rink. And, it didn't open this year, and this is, I did this 2 years ago, but, they got more, and it cost way more than we thought. So that was an investment I made for that area. The cost of it was minor. If I decided I think we need a splash pad there, it would be a couple of $100,000 for a smaller one. But I do know Britannia Woods, which is social housing of Ottawa Community Housing, has its own splash pad, so they're kind of looked after, and that's good because there are hundreds of children that live there. So it's a great spot, and it was paid for out of Ottawa Community Housing, so because it's their property. But in terms of the Britannia Park, this has come up before. It could be, but it's an expense that has to be prioritized, just like everything else. I think I mentioned about the infrastructure budget. Yeah, there's no money. I can't even, I'm trying to look at what we're replacing, like Belltown Dome, which could be, if they decide not to, because they're not doing single pads, it could be a small community building with a gym. Instead of like a Mackey House, it would be one with a gym, and, where we could do sports, because we don't have that in that area, except for school gyms. So that's a possibility. But, if, I'm concentrating on Bay Shore first for a splash pad, to be honest, one at a time. At least they have the water at Britannia, they have something, but they have nothing at Bay Shore. They do have a private community center, it's Acora Villages, so residents can go there, it's an indoor pool, but they really need something outside to cool off. So, I've talked to the city, it's actually planned, just gotta find money, that's all I gotta do. So, just that.
Yeah. Small detail, yeah.
Anybody else got great ideas that they?
They don't cost money?
Yeah, open up your wallet. Infrastructure is expensive, and our budgets, for the city, because, let's face it, nobody wants their taxes to go up. But, when they go up to the bare minimum and inflation happens, you're gonna find things are whittled down. You're gonna find that, it doesn't keep up. It doesn't keep up with the capital. So that's the thing that suffers, because you don't see it right away. It takes a few years, and then you realize, well, these are things that we have to replace at some point. So, good to keep maintenance, always, but, that's it. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight.
Yeah.
Coming out through the storm, and for being active. Showing up is being active. Even if you didn't join the executive, you showed up. So, and that's great. So congratulate yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa, and, as always, thank you for coming and speaking to the community, taking tough questions. This was easier compared to last year, no question of, tennis courts and cracks. Anyways, thank you so much, Teresa, for coming and making time for us as a community. So that's it, everybody. You don't have to go home. I don't know what time they close. The bar, I think, is still open. There are still some snacks on the side that I see, so, if you're hungry or you have kids who might like snacks, you can bring some home with you. Or if you just want to have it with your coffee tomorrow morning, that's it. That's it. So thanks so much, everybody, for coming. Have a wonderful evening. We'll see you all next year.
May I pick up your,
Yeah. And if you have the trivia questions with your name on it, just come drop them off up here, and then I will draw winners and announce them in the newsletter next month for December, and then we'll work out a way to drop them off.
I'm gonna contact you.
I didn't do the end.